A dual exhibition at the 210 Gallery in the Exchange District is bringing two artists together to explore resilience and connection to nature through their respective mediums. This is a task that Derrick Rachul's work lends itself to quite easily, as he creates sculptural woodwork out of reclaimed Manitoba oak and ash. Rachul, who creates under the name Rome Wood Morden, has created an exhibit called Evolving Balance Disjointed. And he joins us on Classic 107 to tell us a little bit more about the exhibit this morning. Hello, Derrick.
Hey, good morning.
Thanks so much for taking the time. First of all, as I interact with your exhibit and its title, it's very interesting to read the words evolving balance and disjointed in the same title. It feels almost like two sides of the coin almost. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about where that title came from in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as I started doing my art, the evolving balance kind of became a little bit of my guiding principle or motivation. And I tell people it's when you're out in nature, if you take the time to notice things, you notice that nature rarely moves in a straight line. You'll look at different trees and, throughout their life, maybe there was a storm, there was something that knocked them over. They straighten up, but there's curves, there's bends. So when I started working with wood, that was kind of, became very obvious. Well, the grain, the patterns, things aren't straight. And, it just keeps working its way back into something that I guess has strength. The strength, just the grain patterns, it just works. It's just, we live in, kind of sometimes sterile modern homes with perfectly straight lines and things. So to be back, to work with that. It was just me. And then it ties into a little bit of my own personal experience moving into the other side, the disjointed part of the exhibition this time. So that's in a nutshell.
Well, it's interesting to hear that sort of nature not being something that exists on a straight line, because as again I interact with your work, it's interesting to note how you are not forcing any of the wood that you work with into something that is a straight line, but rather you're following the grain of the wood and you're really working with the wood to create something almost in tandem, together, collaboratively. How did you first become involved in working with oak and ash as an artistic medium?
Good question. I've got decades of burning firewood. Um, Another portion of my life, I was a tree planter for several seasons, so I had all these 500,000 seedlings go through my hands and into the ground. And then later in life, I was a pilot in Northern Ontario. So I got to actually fly over these blocks that I had planted years earlier and appreciate the forest on all these different levels. So for me, as after a career as a first responder and that had ended, and I had kind of went over to the wood pile and started looking at a couple old wood stumps with a different eye, and just really just decided one day, you know what, let's see what we can do with this. And that's once the first piece kind of was finished, or I got involved in that, there was just something that I decided like, oh, there's so much more than this. And then having woods nearby and a relative with property that's wooded, it just took off for me.
How
Yeah.
has your relationship with trees and your artistic medium changed over the years as you've become somebody who first plants those trees, then flies over them, and now molds them into art?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I know there's so many times when I would hold a piece of firewood or something that we've, reclaimed to use as firewood. And I just thought there's something more to this. I'd notice the grain, or I would notice, the density, or, and it was always kind of like, well, it's fine. I've got firewood to do. I got to keep moving on. And when my last career kind of came to an end and I had some more time, and all of a sudden I could look at it differently. And now, I mean, it makes it really hard to go for a walk without me spotting a potential piece of wood that I know is going to be interesting to work with. So yeah, it's kind of changed how I view things when I'm out for a walk in the woods, because now it's that endless kind of search for a new piece. So
Yeah, you're just endlessly in that sort of not maybe not harvesting, but you're just around the medium all the time and see the potential for what
right.
that medium could be. The 210 Gallery and the two exhibits that are on display there right now, they all talk about exploring resilience and connection to nature. And that's true of the other exhibit that's on display right now as well, which we'll get to in just a second. But that resilience of nature has really been put to the test this summer in Manitoba because of all these devastating forest fires that have burned across the province. Does this exhibit take on new meaning for you with the destruction of all of these trees, your medium across Manitoba?
I think, yeah, an interesting side to that probably as well. We see the destruction, and obviously, we don't want to have, our forest areas, get burnt and disappear. But on the flip side, I've lived nearby when we lived in northern Manitoba, and my time flying over northern Ontario, and you see, again, maybe coming back to my philosophy of the evolving balance, like to see a forest come back where you've seen a 1 year where it's a charred devastation, and it looks devastating, and it can be very thorough sometimes, but then you see a year or two later, the way it starts to come back and how quick it'll green up. That shocked me the first time that I'd seen that. I thought, oh, we're going to look at this barren, charred landscape here for several years, and to actually see how fast nature can come back and kind of push back through. So that's, I guess, an interesting take, or something that I've seen over and over again. So it's kind of how I view it.
That non-straight line you were talking about before is maybe a part of that equation as well. Given what you just said about that impression of nature and the way that it can recover so quickly, is Evolving Balance Disjointed an exhibit of hope, or is it an exhibit of reminder? What do you hope that maybe it says in this current moment?
I think, obviously, especially the disjointed side and the pieces that fall into that category, I think it's definitely, hope would be one of the words I would use. Resilience, strength. When those pieces were made deliberately out of alignment, that was me exploring, some of my past experiences and the feelings that I had, and then using these pieces of wood that often were, laying in the woods, discarded, forgotten about, maybe a layer of rot on top of them. And then for me, it was just trying to find the strength that was under that. And that ties very close to my own personal experience. So, that was my chance to kind of bring that out into a medium I was working with.
We've mentioned a couple times now that this exhibit, Evolving Balance Disjointed, is being presented alongside another exhibit at the 210 Gallery. It is an exhibit of paintings called The Joy of Revival by Silke van Niekerk. How, as you've observed your work in the 210 Gallery space, Derrick, I'm wondering how you've seen the two exhibits interact with each other as they're placed side by side.
I love it, especially the first time I saw it, because Silk's paintings, the coloring, I think just brought out having the wood as this natural soft element, and then having her explosions of color, situated above them. I was so happy to get to see it displayed that way. In my own home, my wife's an artist, so I've seen how well, the paintings and wood play off of each other, and just kind of add to each other. So with wood being, the softer natural tone, and then to have that color. So yeah, I was really, really excited to see how the gallery managed that.
Yeah. How do you think audiences will interact with the two exhibits side by side? And what do you hope that they take away from having visited the 210 Gallery this month as we continue to feel the smoke in the air here in Winnipeg and beyond, and contemplate what nature writ large might look like in Manitoba going forward if forest fires and other sort of climate crises are going to be a part of our day-to-day living for the foreseeable future?
Wow, that's we could go on for a while,
Big
probably.
question.
But yeah, I just think part of it is I know in my own home when I've seen my pieces set up, just in our everyday spaces, and how well, getting to see those pieces of nature in a home setting, and just the warmth and softness it brings. And I think just to show how important, nature can be. We don't have to have, a giant tree planted in our house or whatever to appreciate that, but just sometimes these small pieces and seeing with the different angles and the curves and how they react differently in different lighting circumstances or situations. Yeah, it just brings that peace and maybe an awareness of, what is out there, and then combined with, with the paintings showing bright splashes of color that we get to. I mean, unfortunately, we only get that for a short time in Manitoba every year, but it's there. And painting again is part of that you can bring that into your house for, 365 days a year.
You can see those, and all of those new angles that you were talking about earlier, that non-straight line that nature will take to one day write itself. Evolving Balance, Disjointed, and The Joy of Revival both run until August the 28th at the 210 Gallery on Princess Street. The gallery is open Tuesday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays from 12 until 5. We'll have more information linked at our website later on this morning at classic107.com and on the Classic 107 app. Derrick Rachul, such a pleasure to talk to you about your work, and congratulations on Evolving Balance, Disjointed.
Thanks very much, Nolan. Appreciate it.